Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills episode review. In fact, the last one for the time being. Yes, we're back to Power Rangers Beast Morphers episode reviews next week, to the assured delight of the vast number of my followers who have stayed away from these reviews like the plague. Oh well, passion projects are often unappreciated or at least underappreciated, and Zordon knows that even I'm thrilled to finally be getting Power Rangers Beast Morphers back. Now, some of you might be concerned about what old Shiny Face is going to do when he hears about this, considering the fact that I have not completed reviewing the show before the end of the hiatus. Don't you worry, we're working on a plan. But will that plan be as smart as Emperor Gorganus' latest plan to take over the Earth? Probably smarter, but let's find out by taking a look at the 12th episode of TTAF, The Brain Drain. After another This Week on Sentinels preview, we start things out, as we always do, on Molecula. It's actually interesting that I asked if Gorganus' plan would be smarter than mine, because smarts are exactly what Gorganus' plan is about. He plans to drain the intelligence from every human being on Earth, storing it in a memory bank. We get an interesting little hint to backstory here, as Gorganus says that he has done this before to Lechner. So the literal bird brain used to be smarter than he is now. The only monster Gorganus has with a powerful enough psychic brain to accomplish this is, of course, Neuragula, making its third appearance. Gorganus summons the creature and beams it to Earth, and then beams the memory bank down. One, apparently the teleportation process also makes objects bigger as well as living beings. And number two, the teleportation effect didn't quite mask the object just disappearing from the shot. At Beverly Hills High, which we now know is Beverly Hills High since it's the only high school in the city, Gordon is freaking out about an upcoming exam, the Basic Skills Test. I looked into it and I don't think this is actually a real test. The closest I could come up with is the California Basic Educational Skills Test, which is a standardized test taken by teachers in California to get credentialed. But for the most part, by the way the episode talks about this exam, it seems to be your basic standardized test in the vein of the Scholastic Aptitude Test, the SAT, or other types of state exams that just basically check your level of high school learning. When I was in high school down in Florida, we had the High School Competency Test, HSCT, but it was actually then replaced my junior year by the Florida Comprehensive Assessment Test, or FCAT.
Get on with it!
Sorry, moving right along. The others all dismiss worrying about the test for their own character-specific reason. Drew sees it as the state, making sure that the little students' minds are filled with all of the government-approved dogma. Lori would rather be at cheerleading practice, and Swinton, he'll just breeze right through the test. But Gordon is at near panic attack levels of anxiety. Like the SAT, this test will determine what colleges Gordon can get into. That will then determine the success of his career and the entire rest of his life. As he puts it, it's the difference between driving a brand new Mercedes or a previously owned one. When Swinton tells Gordon exactly where in the textbook something is that he was blanking on, Gordon insists that Swinton has some kind of edge, some hidden secret. When Swinton moves a helmet-like device inside of his locker, Gordon asks what that dumb thing is. Swinton decides to have a little fun with him, saying this is his secret. It's a helmet that blocks out any sort of electronic interference, which will help Gordon focus on studying. By the by, they throw in a double whammy of dated TV references here, as Drew says that Gordon has Night Court reruns clogging his brain, and Gordon says that he hasn't been able to get the Cheers theme out of his head.
Where everybody knows your name.
Swinton allows Gordon to use the helmet, and he starts ranting like a madman about how he's got the secret now. He's gonna ace that test. The others laugh as he walks away. Swinton says that the helmet does do exactly what he said it does, blocking out radiation and electronic transmissions, but it's not going to make him any smarter. It may help via the placebo effect, though, which the show helpfully explains, the idea of something helping actually providing that help when the object that you believe is helping actually doesn't do anything. We get another one of these weird, under 5-second cutaways to the monster, showing that it is still out there doing what we know that it's doing. 11 seconds of jingles later at the cafe, Gordon is studying hard, teased by some people about the helmet, but insisting that it's giving him an edge. Drew walks over and asks if it is working, and he absolutely says that it is, asking her for more jolt juice coffee. He basically wants more coffee. The episode hard cuts back to Neuragula doing exactly what he was doing before in that little 5-second cutaway, proving just how unnecessary that was. The monster changes the beam it was firing at the memory bank, which also makes me wonder what it was doing before that. This seems to activate the episode's title, The Brain Drain, as everyone in the cafe starts acting really stupid. Drew brings Gordon a cup of just coffee beans, then pouring them over her own head and saying in a really cutesy voice, "We're closed." At Drew's house, Drew and Gordon get back, and we hear that the epidemic of the idiocy is spread at least city-wide, as people are driving around like idiots, and Drew nearly walks into the road, saying that she was looking for the kitchen. Lori then walks over, even more ditzy than usual, saying that she was washing her hair in the big cement puddle over there, aka in the pool. Drew starts eating some flowers, and credit to K. Sorgan, by the way, she is actually chewing on the flowers, and Gordon decides to turn on the radio. The effect has actually spread nationwide, probably globally, as apparently the President of the United States had said that he wants his mommy and is replacing the Joint Chiefs of Staff with teddy bears. However, apparently the newsreader was wearing a helmet very similar to Gordon's, as she does not seem to be affected. Ah, the plot-convenient necessity of exposition. Gordon doesn't quite piece together that the helmet is protecting him from this yet, wondering instead if everyone around him has just always acted this way, and he's just finally focused enough to notice. Another short cutaway to Neuragula, still firing a beam at the memory bank. Gordon finds Swinton at the cafe, reading a comic book upside down. Nimbar finally beeps them, and the portal appears right in the middle of the cafe. Now remember, I write these scripts as I'm watching the episode, so we'll see if Nimbar mentions that he didn't hide the portal because he knew exactly what was going on. Gordon indeed says that they can just jump right through the portal because everybody's too stupid to actually notice. However, Swinton just sits right back down with his comic book, so Gordon decides to go alone. Okay. This is starting to become something of an issue here. No, Nimbar doesn't mention why he put the portal in the middle of the floor, knowing what's going on. Because he doesn't know what's going on. Nimbar seems totally focused on monitoring the portal network and the arrival of monsters on Earth, but doesn't seem to just check for strange occurrences, seeing if the Sentinels are okay, anything like that. He berates Gordon, which, by the by, his attitude towards Gordon is starting to shift from an odd exception to something of a character trait, so I'm becoming okay with it, about taking so long, and asks where the other Sentinels are. Gordon says that everybody but him has suddenly gone stupid, and Nimbar has no idea what he's talking about.
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Gordon suddenly does piece together that the helmet protected him from whatever's going on. Nimbar does a quick scan and finds Neuragula and the memory bank, which makes me wonder why Nimbar summoned them in the first place if he didn't even know Neuragula was there. He says he'll try to get the other Sentinels to the cave. Please, please let us get some giant, goofy Sentinel action. I would love to see that. But in the meantime, Gordon is going to have to go fight alone. Gordon is nervous about that, which really doesn't fit with how he ripped the sorcerer a new one all by himself last week, but anyway. So Nimbar resorts to a little trickery. He says his readings are showing that the brain drain might be starting to affect Gordon as well, and checks if he still remembers his vocal call-out. Gordon hops up on his transo disc and screams, "Taurus!" and is of course transformed and beamed away. On the battlefield, Neuragula spots Taurus and starts shooting at him, and this actually brings up another side note. I know I seem to be doing that a lot today. Direction of motion on beams. This is a little special effects problem that I've actually also had trouble with myself. It is very tricky to make it look like a beam is traveling three-dimensionally towards the screen. Oftentimes on this show, beams from monsters and even shots from the Sentinels come off oddly angled, just pointing in the two-dimensional direction that they're shooting. After just a little bit of back and forth, the episode once again slam cuts, this time back to the school, where a janitor is mopping the floor with a rake, and a ditzy Lori wanders the halls wondering why there's no school today. Nimbar opens a portal right next to her and tries to lure her in with an academic achievement award, but remember, this is ditzy Lori, so he changes it to a pony ride, and she happily jumps in. By the by, oddly enough, the battle music from the previous sequence extends through all of this and into the next sequence. Speaking of that next sequence, Taurus and Neuragula fight some more, and then the monster snatches away Taurus's staff. But of course, it just throws it down on the ground and wait, what? No, the monster actually fires it at Taurus and then tries to hit him with it. Gold star, Neuragula! No wonder you're the smart one. Nimbar opens a portal for Drew next, asking if she'd like to explore some Jackson Pollock art. So he knows Drew well enough to know her interest in art, but can't remember from 2 minutes ago that they're ditzy now, so you have to lure them with simpler things. He changes it to watching some cartoons, and she happily leaps right in. Same exact thing happens with Swinton. Stephen Hawking wants to talk to you. Oh no, wait, it's Bozo the Clown. In the cave, Nimbar tries to get the Sentinels to stand on their transo discs, but they're not having it. Taurus is still getting tossed around, literally, by Neuragula. He asks for some help, and Neuragula speaks. Yeah, it has a voice. And it's this, like, Machiavellian villain voice, like, "Ha ha ha! Prepare for the end, Taurus! There is no one who can help you!" Neuragula keeps speechifying now that it remembers that it has a voice. Taurus rolls around to avoid an attack and finds the memory bank. He grabs it, and for some reason it transmits all of the brain power of humanity into him, greatly increasing his mental capacity. Neuragula fires at him again, but he just shoots back with the same mental beams, proving he now has the same mental abilities as the monster. Now we see, or rather hear, I guess, why Neuragula had to have a voice this time around, as he begins to lure Taurus with promises of power. Surely he can see that their abilities are on an equal level, so their battle is destined to end as a stalemate. Taurus quickly runs the numbers in his head and sees that that is the case. So, why waste the energy? Join with Gorganus and Taurus can rule the Earth. He seems to consider it, and Neuragula says all he'd have to do is destroy the other galactic Sentinels. Taurus seems to agree, saying he will bring the other Sentinels there, demanding that Nimbar do so, and suddenly the other Sentinels just beam in, despite us just having seen that they couldn't even remember their vocal callouts, so how did they transform? The monster tells Taurus to destroy them all, and he zaps them all, knocking them down. Gorganus celebrates his victory, but then of course the other Sentinels get right back up. Taurus never intended to actually serve Gorganus, but the ruse gave him a way to get the other Sentinels there, so he could zap them with psychic powers, restoring their brain power, and they could form Nitron. They do so, and we get a short but pretty decent Nitron fight. My favorite moment is where its sword gets knocked away, so it just throws its shield at Neuragula like a giant frisbee. Weird, but kinda cool scene back at the cave. The Sentinels all have their regular brain power back, but Gordon still has everyone's brain power. He declares that he has all knowledge, and he is truly the smartest person alive. He can accomplish so many great things if he just keeps the memory bank. But he can also see the great number of tragedies that would result from this. He makes the wise decision to give the memory bank to Nimbar so he can return the brain power of humanity. Inversely, a kind of cool but mostly weird scene back at the school. The test results have been posted, and Gordon actually managed to get one of the top scores. Smarter than he seems, eh? Well, no. Swinton points out that the test was graded on a curve, which doesn't even begin to make sense for a standardized test. And since most of the students had not gotten their brain power back by test day, Gordon was basically king of the morons. Yay? My astonishing abilities of intelligence and foresight have led me to conclude that we have reached the temporal coordinates in which I will relay the wisdom of the zodiac to my fine viewers. In other words, it's time to read the signs. Episode 12, The Brain Drain. Pros: another strong Gordon focus, great comedic dummy acting from the other Sentinels, and a good philosophical message. Cons: another sloppy episode, a bunch of wasted time, and that undercut ending. Another mix of good and bad that left me slightly more confused than excited. The Brain Drain gets 3 signs out of 5. This show is actually really good at focus episodes. Sometimes a little too good, it can be to the detriment of other characters, but anyway, we get a nice strong one for Gordon here once again. We dig into his character a little bit more and see how his focus on his future and success and upcoming wealth is actually nearly a neurotic obsession for him. Even he can be motivated to do well at school and study if he feels like his wealth and success and fame are on the line. Gordon is just a very interesting character and hero for the show because many of his core character traits are negative: arrogance, selfishness, greed. But they do inform his character. The other Sentinels did get something this week though, and it was really funny comedic dummy acting when they had their brain power drained. They resisted the urge to make this all about slapstick. They weren't just throwing pies at each other or farting. It was more intellectual, as ironic as that term is. Eating flowers, reading comics upside down. We're closed. It was genuinely funny, at least to me. And while it was delivered a little bit on the nose, this was a pretty good moral for an episode like this to convey. And interestingly, I don't think it was just delivered in that on-the-nose fashion, with Gordon deciding to give up his expanded brain power through the memory bank, but also more subtly in turning down Uragula's offer. Taurus had to contemplate whether it would be better to just be a regular member of society, but a proud one with upstanding morals, or to be the king of a kingdom of idiots whose brain power he's basically stealing. Power achieved at any cost can be underwhelming and unsatisfying. I'm going to cheat a little here and talk about the first 2 cons at once because they kind of tie together. The editing in this episode actually got worse than last week's, as there were multiple scenes that end right at the end of a line, like it was cut from a longer take, and then slam cut over to the monster doing something we already knew, which is a waste of time. It's like they felt like we'd forget about the monster and what it was doing if they didn't cut back to it every other sequence. I'm actually going to use the second cons paragraph to expand on that idea at the end of the previous one there, the every other sequence thing. There's a very clear and actually quite rigid structure to these episodes, and I think that's part of the problem. We always start on Molecula with Gorganus explaining the plot of the day and the monster of the day. We then flip back and forth between the Sentinels and the monster until the 2 of them meet. Like, even if we just cut back to the monster for like 5 seconds, we have to do that. It doesn't help things. You have to feel free to explore the structure of your episode and be a little creative. And you have to wonder how the writers of the show felt about the idea of character arcs when nothing seems to really grow or change. This show often seems to just tread water. I've had that feeling growing for a while, actually. It just stays the same week after week. Solo stories with no arcs and no progression and no changes. Sure, Gordon had a nice moment in deciding to give up the Earth's brain power, but the episode ends with Swinton going, no, Gordon actually didn't get any smarter from all that studying he did. He just got a nice little reward that he didn't actually earn. I'm not going to cheekily try to come up with another word for surprised this week, because I really wasn't. This is about what I expect when I come into an episode of this show. Some interesting writing, some decent action, acting that borders on acceptable. Not bad, not great. So this is where we're going to leave things off for now. I am going to keep reviewing Tattoo Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills, likely during the upcoming off-season and any breaks we get in Beast Morphers run this season, and I am going to finish reviewing it. But for now, let's instead see what's coming up on Power Rangers Beast Morphers with Episode 9, Silver Sacrifice. Dude! I know I'm not the normal narrator for these preview segments, but Orange Ranger said I could do this one as a nice little send-off, so I'll be seeing you dudes around. When Evox's new plan targets one of their own, the Beast Morphers Rangers must band together to save them. And for now, that puts the pause button on Tattoo Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills episode reviews. Heroes, thank you so much for watching them so far. As I hinted at the beginning of the video, where I hope I didn't sound too snotty about it, this was a passion project of mine and something that I really wanted to do, even though it was kind of obscure and kind of older nostalgia that not everybody really knew about. I get somewhat the lack of interest, but any of you that have been watching and commenting and liking and sharing and etc., YouTube, etc., I greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. Make sure to let me know that you like this video by hitting that thumbs up button down below. While you're down there, make sure you leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of this episode and of my review of it. What would you do if you were offered all of the brain power on Earth, but everybody you know, everybody, your friends, your family, the people you interact with at work and everything, became total idiots? Would you be able to deal with that and rule the world full of idiots? Or would you give that back up and just let things continue as they were? Let me know down in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel to see all of my videos and ring that bell. Make sure you get all your notifications set up so you are notified of whenever I post brand new videos, like the upcoming return of Power Rangers Beast Morphers episode reviews. If you'd like to contribute to my channel in any way financially, head over to ko-fi.com/orangerangervideos, where you can buy me a coffee. So tasty. That's $3 is what it's set to there, and I greatly appreciate any financial support I find at that site. See you next week for Beast Morphers reviews, everybody. Until then, may the power portals protect you. Swinton allows Gordon to use the helmet, and he starts rambling on the direction of farts. We dig into his character, exploring how his obsession with, The other Sentinels did get something this week, though, and it was seriously funny comedic dumbing acting from them. I'm not going to try to come up with another word for surprised this week, because I wasn't. This is about what I expect when I come into an episode of this show. Some interesting writing, some decent action, some acting. I'm not going to try to come up cheekily with... Dude! I know I'm not the normal narrator for these types of reviews.